Hello and welcome back to Anything Goes. I'm your 5 Wing 4 host, Madison.
And I'm your 9 Wing 1 host, Caden.
And this is a podcast about the Enneagram. So just to jump right into our intro and kind of announcements, this is the last episode that we are pre-recording. So we are pre-recording this on April 11th. And we will see you in September.
Yay!
Whoop, whoop.
Maddy is off on a wild adventure. If you can guess what it is, you get a gold star.
You'll get a shout out. How about that in the show? Should I give a hint?
Oh, go ahead.
Should I give a hint?
Sure.
Let's see. I'm getting vaccinated on the 14th because what I'm doing involves some travel. It is not as dangerous as a lot of the other travel because it's pretty solitary. It's just
socially distanced there.
It's socially distanced, yes. The main issue is just the one flight down to like what I'm doing. And then after that, it's very socially distanced. So if you have a guess, let us know. Some other disclaimers. We are not safe for work, so plug in those headphones. We haven't talked about sex in a while, but it's mainly just cursing. We're LGBT.
We haven't even cursed that much.
We haven't. Maybe we don't need to have that in anymore because we don't have the sex segments.
Wait, no, hold on. Fuck. There we go. now we're not safe for work.
We're not professionals, as you can probably imagine now. We are not Enneagram certified, though I will be working on that eventually. That is not why I'm leaving.
Yeah. Very few aspirations for me.
We're also not Christians, so this is not a Christian Enneagram-centered podcast.
No.
You can email us or tweet us, EnneathingGoes@gmail.com or @EnneathingGoes, same way it's spelled here.
If you like the show, be sure to check out our Patreon. You can support our fees for hosting sites. You can support getting new materials for us, and you can support Maddy joining a cult. So if any of that's of interest to you, go check us out on Patreon.
Yep. All right. So
this is a wild card episode.
Yeah. We've been kind of putting them in after we finish section, or after we finish going through all the triads, we've been putting in just a random episode to like refresh. So this one is on Sleeping at Last,
which is a band.
It's a band. Yeah. So our question of the month was about how did you guys feel about them, and do you like their stuff, or and so general consensus was that positive reviews. I was surprised because regardless of what type you actually were, because Sleeping at Last has one of their more recent works is that they released an album with a song for each type, and so regardless of type, most people's favorite song was either 8 or 3.
See, I get 3. But that actually ranks like kind of middle for me. I don't get 8. I mean, I guess it's a bop, but I didn't like it when I first heard it.
8 was immediately my favorite. I love 8. 8's probably the only one. 8 or 1 are probably the only ones that I would listen to without it being like Enneagram research.
Yeah, maybe it's just my personal taste.
Because Sleeping at Last, just so you know, their genre is new age folk.
Yeah.
Which is not something I generally listen to. It's very good. They do have other kind of things, which I have some fun facts about them for later. But
they've got a great series about he does works when NASA does like new shit. They'll drop stuff based on the space missions and the new discoveries, and I don't know. It's just interesting.
Yeah. But so I'm gonna move on from the question of the month because there wasn't much to really discuss there. It's just more for us to get some info. But just some background on like who is Sleeping at Last, like what's going on. So, Sleeping at Last was a band that consisted of 3 members, which was Ryan O'Neal, Chad O'Neal, his brother, and Dan Perdue. And they made music for a couple of years before Chad and Dan kind of quit the band a little bit more. Or I don't know how much Chad has. I don't know how much Chad kind of works with them now, but now
it's just Ryan O'Neal.
Yeah, he does his solo work through it.
Yeah.
Which the Enneagram stuff that we're going to be talking about is just Ryan O'Neal's solo work. However, the older stuff with Chad and Dan Perdue is pretty good. I listened to 1 or 2 songs. Yeah. So you might want to check out their earlier works.
So the Enneagram songs are part of a concept series called Atlas, in which Ryan O'Neal deconstructs like the life, the universe, and everything in it, kind of. So Atlas 1 talks about the planets and sort of like Big Bang type stuff, and then Atlas 2 is more about humans, emotions, and then the Enneagram as basic personality archetypes. I highly recommend, if you're interested, like if you listen to some of the stuff and you're interested, just listen through the whole concept album. You'll find some things that you'll like, you'll find some things that you don't like. But a lot of my favorite Sleeping at Last songs aren't actually the Enneagram songs. They're other things in the Atlas work series. If you really want to do a deep dive after this, go check out Ryan O'Neal's podcast, where he does in-depth analysis of every single Enneagram song that he makes.
We do have to put in the warning, though. I haven't listened to the podcast, but you told me it's a little...
So he brings in Christopher Huertz to talk about what each type is. And if for those of you who don't know Christopher Huertz, like since then, it's come out that he has a lot of like grooming, abusive, emotionally manipulative tendencies. There have been allegations against him. That's caused a big stir in the Enneagram community. So if that's not your cup of tea, maybe skip those bits or just don't listen.
But yeah. I don't have much else on this. You are more the expert on Sleeping at Last. Yeah.
Well, it's funny because the way that I found out about them was actually through Alyssa, my partner. We were doing so we met through a D&D group, which is like the nerdiest fucking way to meet. But we were talking about our campaign and our characters, and she had recommended the songs because she's like, oh my gosh, they're talking about people's personality types and characters, and it's very interesting when you're playing a role-playing game to kind of investigate what type is my character, what type is this fictional thing that I've created. And so that's how I first got into it. She sent me the song. I liked it. I listened to it. I listened to more of their stuff. And then I think the height of my Sleeping at Last sort of obsession was when I was in Japan with you, Maddy. And I was like, oh, well, you have to hear about this Enneagram stuff. And here's this band that does songs about the Enneagram. And for me, that was very interesting. And one of my sort of initial deep dives into what types were, there were 2 podcasts I listened to that Enneagram for Idiots podcast was a big sort of influential part in my early Enneagram knowledge, and also Ryan O'Neal's songs and deconstructing them. Because he goes into a lot of depth about thinking through how the way he talks about it is he wants to talk about it almost as both the sort of average level coping mechanisms and what the potential sort of pinnacle or peak or self-love might look like for that type. It's just nice. So let's get down to our faves, and then we can deconstruct why there are faves, what the lyrics are, and how they fit into things, and all that kind of stuff.
So my faves, I rank them. My favorite is 8, then 1 and 2, and those are probably the only ones I would listen to, not in Enneagram things, just because the beat's a little more my style and a little more, I don't know, something I would listen to on a daily basis. And then following down through 6, 7, 5, 9, 3, and 4.
Yeah. I have so my top 3 are very solid,
Mm-hmm.
and then things are kind of fuzzy after that. Favorite is by far 6. Um, I it's just I don't maybe it's a bad thing that as a 9 I really relate to a 6. Oh, also, for your information, Ryan O'Neal is a 9, which kind of influences how you view some of the way that he's writing about things and what he's doing when he's trying to put himself in everyone's shoes, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's doing the 9 merging thing to write
Mm-hmm.
the songs. So 6 is top, and then 1 and 2 are next, and then 3 is after that. And then in the middle, um, I've got like 7, 8, and 9. I really didn't like uh 9 when I heard it at first, because I don't know why. It was just like really soft. It's a lullaby.
Mm-hmm.
Um
He's good with the
and
lullabies.
what?
He's good with the lullabies.
He really is. He's got it certainly is in his tone, like that's in his wheelhouse right there.
Mm-hmm.
Um but maybe it just hit like a little too close to home. I don't know. Uh but it was sort of the like, well, I don't know. I don't want to be called out like this. So that's kind of in the middle for me because I can't listen to that too much. And then at the bottom for me is the 4 and 5.
Mm.
Those are some of my least favorite.
This may be bad for like an Enneagram podcast, but the way I ranked mine was literally, is it a bop or not? It was less about the lyrics and more about, do I jam to this? Did I, I don't know.
Well, that's part of it because part of his he's creating like a musical journey too, right?
Mm-hmm. Which, as an overall musical journey, it flows very well.
Yeah,
Um,
which is why I recommend listening to the whole series.
mm-hmm.
Um, because there's some songs in there that are just like really great. But let's start breaking down some of these songs.
Okay.
You want to start with your top 8,
We can start with 8.
or do we want
Um,
to go in a circle
I
and
had
start?
started I had started pulling up the lyrics. So I've
Yeah.
got 1 through 4 up right now. I can pull up 8 real quick though. Is that where you want to start?
Well, we can do it this way. We can either start with trading off our lists and saying, like, going down like top to bottom
Mm-hmm.
and why we like things, or we can go around in a circle,
Let's just
starting
do.
in the order that he made them. So starting with 1 and going to 9.
Okay. Let's go ahead and discuss in a circle.
Okay, so we'll start out with 1, which is both second for us.
Mm-hmm. It was really good. It was a strong. It's a strong starting piece.
It really is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and just something about like the way that if you read the lyrics,
Mm-hmm.
um, it feels almost hopeful,
Mm-hmm.
which is I think an aspect of the one that most people don't draw out. They think about the idealism, they think about the perfectionism, they think
Mm-hmm.
about the judgmentalism, but like the idea, like the central theme of the piece, the
Mm-hmm.
I believe that we can fix it, or um I'm not saying perfect exists, but we'll only know for certain if we try.
Yeah.
That's sort of like, eh, it's a different take, and I really do enjoy that.
Mm-hmm. I didn't. So okay, derailing for a second. It's very interesting for me which songs that I like kind of the best, um, because when I listen to music, I tend to like things that kind of send me to 8,
Mm,
and get me pumped. So
mhm.
obviously 8 is my favorite. Um, and I think it has a very 8 vibe. But I was intrigued that 1 would also send me there. Um, I don't know. It was just an observation because it also has that very like it doesn't have 8 energy, not at all. I don't know where I'm going with
'Cause,
this anymore, but it's just
I mean,
it
it's
sends.
about the idealism, it's tapping into your 8 idealism, right?
Yeah.
But it's also about the balance between taking control and letting go,
Hmm.
which I think is also a very 8 concept.
Hmm. Um, I also think that to find out that grace requires nothing of me, the lyric
Mhm.
is both a 1 and 8 mindset
Yeah,
and health. So maybe that's what did it for me because I really like that lyric in this.
yeah. I do think that that 1 is a stellar song.
Mhm. Can you
Makes
hear
me
the dog whining?
I can.
Oh no. He
It's fine.
I got him his bone out again and then he had to leave it and he didn't want the other dog to get it. So he shoved it back under the couch and now he desperately wants it again. And I've already like in order for him to get it, I have to pick up the couch and like lift it up while he scrambles under there. And I don't want to do it. I might just have to let him out. All right. Would you like to move on to 2?
Yeah, let's look on to 2. That's also number 3 for both of us, so that's
Mhm.
a crowd pleaser right there.
2's just a really solid love song in general,
Mhm.
which let me go ahead and pull up one of my fun facts. So, Ryan O'Neal has a long list of songs that have been used in TV and like movies and stuff like that. And so, like for instance, he has a song in Breaking Dawn Part One called "Turning the Page." But I was surprised at just how many of the Atlas 2 songs get used in everything.
Yeah.
And so in the 2020 US Figure Skating Championships, um, 2 was used, and I'm not entirely sure how because it wasn't credited very well. So I don't know if
Mm,
someone danced to it or if it was just some of their like background music during the championships. But it was taken in for that, and I like that because it stands alone very well. And I think for
mhm.
I think some of the other ones that I placed down lower don't stand as well outside of the piece, but 2 is just a really good love song in general, and that's why it ranks so high for me.
Yeah. I think for me too, like that's the idealized love, right? Because it's totally and completely selfless.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't know, it just plays to the romantic in me.
Mhm.
Um, but I think it's interesting the way that um he's simultaneously created the picture of a 2 who can be saying this. You can read it as him like saying it to someone else,
Mhm.
or you can read it as like self-love and affirmation.
I kind of I didn't actually see it as a self-love or affirmation, but I did see it as it could either be someone who loves a 2 or a
Mm,
2 loving someone else because they're like, "Sweetheart, you look a little tired. When did you last eat?" Things like that. It's like a 2 not taking care of themselves very much and needing someone to come
mm,
in and be like, "I'm gonna take care of you," like they wanna be taken care of. So, and that's why I think it's a well-rounded love song, because it sounds like it could come from any type to any type, um, but also has those touches of two that would make it just perfect for loving it too. Also, I am in a relationship with it too, so maybe that's why I'm like
A
making
little
it
biased.
broader. Yeah, I'm a little biased. I got my two. My two, I played it for my two, and it's interesting because the reaction my two had was just kind of vibing a little bit and then just laughing.
Mm.
And I was like, "Why are you laughing?" And they were like, the specifically the lyric, "No, I don't want to talk about myself. Tell me where it hurts." And I was like, "Just yep, I feel it."
Mm.
um, so I don't know.
I think for me, and I found 2 was one of like the first songs that I listened to from the Enneagram stuff because when I
Mhm,
was got into it, he was still making them, right?
mhm,
Um, Also, for me, there was the idea that this is what love was supposed to look like in a sort of self-effacing way.
mm,
Um, and as a 9, I don't actually I like that's not me. I don't this isn't who I am. I don't do this. Um, I can't actually do the 2 thing because that's not my vibe. And I've tried to before and it does not work out well. Um, But I think that also for me is part of the draw on an emotional level, right? Or the idealization of it.
mm.
I don't know. It's just sweet.
Mm.
Okay, so 3, you ranked 3 fairly low, right?
I did rank three fairly low. It wasn't. I don't know, and I might need to like rearrange this a little bit because thinking back on it, I think I liked it a little more than 5 and 9, but not above 7. But in the moment, I ranked it 3, so maybe if I listened back to it, I would be like, meh. Um,
Is it weird that I don't necessarily enjoy like musically the parts of the song where he's singing, but I enjoy the other things, you
no, I
know?
don't
Like
think you're.
if it were an acoustic like just no lyrics
Mhm,
track, I would think I would like the music better.
mhm. I think this was. I think the reason I didn't like it was the lyrics, really, for me, because it's not like I don't connect to it at all. Like, and I finally see myself. I know myself. I don't, I think it would kind of connect more to threes. Were you getting at
Yeah.
something else?
I mean, I don't know if I necessarily connect, and I'm not a 3. It's my integration point, but I
Mhm.
think part of it being my integration point is that I still don't have the fundamental like
Mhm.
issues of a 3.
Yeah.
Um, and the ways that I live based on others' perceptions of me is not represented in this song, you know?
Mhm.
So I
I
think
won. Sorry. Go ahead.
I enjoy it, but I think maybe what was lacking for me is that it does have, I think, a very specific idea of what living image conscious looks like,
Mm.
you know? And
Mhm.
it's the achievement-based model, right? But I think there's a diversity of what that achievement-based model looks like for threes,
Mhm.
and it's taken the baseline, you know?
Mhm.
It doesn't go as in-depth as some of the other songs do, I think.
Yeah. It is a little bit more surface level 3.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you think maybe because Ryan O'Neal is a 9 that he struggled?
Maybe that's why. Oh, also fun fact. Grey's Anatomy has used this song one, and I'll just go ahead and read it. Type 8, the 8 song on their soundtracks. Um, but yeah, and I don't want to keep skipping back. So American Idol used 7.
Mm.
But yeah, those are the ones that I found the most interesting. Also, I need to listen to, because apparently he now has a cover of what's the song, like 500 miles. Hold on.
I will say that the best line in this whole song is and leave my greatest failures on display with an asterisk, worthy of love anyway.
Mhm. I want to listen to his cover of I'm Gonna Be or 500 Miles, because apparently that is very good. It's been used in a bunch of stuff.
I
don't know. Ready to move on to 4?
I didn't like 4.
I didn't either. It was my lowest rated song, and I think it's because I didn't like it musically very much. I just wasn't as into it.
I will say the one thing that I like is like the bridge section, the like bodies fashioned out of dirt and dust.
For a moment we get to be glorious.
Like that, if I could just have that be like the rest of the song be like that, I would enjoy it more, I think.
Yeah. Lyrically, I don't know. I think the lyrics are very nice. And I think I would like it a little bit more if it musically kind of matched, instrumentally, I guess. Because I really do like the lyrics. The lyrics definitely vibe with my 4-wing. Like they're, yeah.
It's very poetic.
It is. It's very pretty.
Yes. But I think I like it better as a poem than as a song.
Yeah. I definitely feel that.
And then I didn't really like the musicality of the 5.
I also didn't, which also put it down pretty low for me, because I didn't like it took him a long time to get to the lyrics. And so for a while I thought I had
Just
picked
an
up.
instrumental? Were you
Yeah.
gonna be pissed off that you got the instrumental?
I wouldn't have been. But I was confused thinking I had grabbed like an instrumental version to listen to. And so like I last night was the first time I listened to all of the songs, but when I went to go start 5, it took me a while to actually start it after you recommended it, because like I'd start it up and I'd be like, I think I found the wrong thing, and I would click out of it. And so it was a good couple of months after you recommended it to me that I was like, well, maybe I'll just listen to this. And then it had the lyrics, and I was like, oh, this has been the correct thing the entire time. Lyrically speaking, I also am not the biggest fan because it's very surface level 5.
And this is the thing. I think for a couple of them, he falls short.
Yeah, because especially the end, like, and now I want to generously lose this energy that I've been hanging on to so desperately. I finally feel the universe expand, its hidden heartbeats, exhales, and in the hope of open hands. Definitely lost me. Maybe that's because I'm more at an average level, but I don't think 5s ever want to generously lose. Okay, here's the main issue for me: generously lose this energy. I don't have energy. I don't have it to lose. I get that the opening up is like when we're in growth, we're supposed to become more generous, and it's definitely I am more generous
But I
with
think
my
it's
info or
less
my
about
time.
giving and more about being a conduit.
Uh-huh. And he really lost me at energy, because it's never like, that's the problem. That's why we don't give info away so easily, is because of the energy it takes. I don't have the energy to give it away. I have to hoard my resources, and that's why.
Yeah. So I think that's It's about like reaching equilibrium, however you pronounce it. Um, but the way I would think about that is not necessarily that you've hoarded this stuff all this time and now you're giving it away, but that you've realized that you don't have to hoard, that as things come in, they go out.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. The other thing is like it feels like an out of body experience. Um, I'm not in touch with my body, so maybe that's what he meant. But like living as me doesn't feel like an out of body experience. It's just how I relate to how, I bet how I relate to my body would feel like an out of body experience to someone like a 9.
Probably.
But that's not how I relate to it.
Okay, so we can agree that 5 is not. 4 and 5 are not the best.
They're not the best.
Okay.
Honestly, I think I ranked 5 so high in my group is more just because it's type 5 and I'm a type 5. I couldn't rank it last.
Okay, but my favorite one that I have listened to on repeat, like literally just repeated the song over and over again and listened to it for like half an hour, is 6.
It's a good song. Mine, what did I rank it? 4. It's not in my top core 3.
It's the sort of, my mind was heavy running ragged with worst case scenarios, emergency exits, and the distance below. I do that. I'm not even a 6, but like I felt that. I was like, oh shit, I do check emergency exits when I get on places. And then I don't stew on it, like I leave that, but like I could feel what it was like to be a 6 in the song, you know? And so I like it. It's also just musically very interesting to me.
Musically, it's interesting. I think these lyrics are a lot more spot on. It's one of the more spot, or maybe
and there's a
it is
turning point. You get to the halfway into the song, and you know, for most songs, he has that turning point, right? Where it's like pushing through, and then you've reached that sort of integration point where you're moving forward. But I think the way that matched up with the music and the lyrics for me in this particular song, going from being paralyzed to being like strong, and taking a choice and action. Anyways.
Yeah. 7.
Right. Oh, I do want to have one more thing about this song.
Okay.
If you go listen to his podcast, I think he has a vignette where he talks about an experiment where it was like some like animal research with like primates, and they took away all of the primates with anxiety, and the whole group suffered. Because the ones with anxiety were the ones that were keeping everyone safe.
Very interesting.
I don't know if I'm like quoting it right or whatever, but I feel that in this, you know? And I'm like, oh yes, 6s. The 6s in my life are like this.
They keep us safe with their.
They do keep us safe.
All right, now 7.
Yeah, so 7, 8, 9 are all sort of mid for me.
You and I ranked 7 in the exact same spot at 5.
Yeah,
Fifth
I'm just.
favorite. I think it's a solid song. But it's very middle of the pack. I think it's interesting that I don't relate to it more, because of disintegration.
You know what? I think of the 7s in my life, and I do think though that it gets that very stereotypical 7, sort of in the way that 3 also gets the very stereotypical 3. We're talking about the 5s being very stereotypical as well.
How does Alyssa feel about it?
Do you want me to go ask her?
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay. How do you feel about Enneagram Atlas Song 7?
I think, well, maybe this wraps up into all of them a little bit, but I think the optimism of 7 doesn't always feel true to me. Like the song 7 is very optimistic and very energetic, and sometimes it doesn't feel apt or accurate, but I also know that a lot of the sort of driving force of Sleeping at Last like goal with the songs was to talk about that integration point, right? To talk about like developing as a person and being your best self. So to an extent, I also think that that's a part of it, but I guess also that like as a general rule, like trying very, very hard to remain that level of optimistic is very integral to being part of a 7. Like that's huge. And like that activity, that feeling of like, this is a very bouncy song. And it's like, I'm trying to figure out how to put this, but like the feeling that I have that a lot of that bounce is in my own life very superficial. That is something that I'm projecting and trying to like engage with on purpose because I want to avoid not feeling it. And so to me, sometimes the song actually rings a little bit hollow because I know the sort of darker side of it. And there's this very brief moment that it feels like sinking when you're standing in one place that does kind of allude to that feeling of like, if you stop that movement, you'll be sort of crushed under that feeling of losing that momentum. So I have complicated feelings on it, I guess, but.
Yeah. Well, because it falls into the fundamental trap of the 7 personality type as a thing, which is avoiding all negative emotional experiences. Or just experiences generally. Like,
yeah.
Okay. Thank you for your time and your
thank you for
service
your
here.
Glad to be helpful.
All right. Bye. Love you. Straight from a 7.
Straight from the 7's mouth.
Yep. So.
All right. Now on to 8, which was my favorite. You kind of put it mid-pack, huh?
I did. It's so angry.
It's not, though. It's just,
it
gets
so
me
hurt. I don't
pumped.
like any of this, okay?
It's
I
pumped.
There are pump songs that I can listen to that are like pump songs, you know, like rest in peace DMX. Will get you pumped.
I love DMX, and KJ broke the news to me last night. Like that's when I found out, and I had to listen to X go and give it to him.
Right.
Just because
that is a pump up song. This is not on that level, okay?
I don't know. It's just pumped to me. Like I want to break these bones till they're better. Yes.
But it's
I don't know. I don't know how well it speaks to 8, so I can't attest to that, but it definitely sends me to 8. I'll give all I have. I'll give my blood, give my sweat. Ocean of tears will spill for what is broken. I'm shattered porcelain, glued back together again. Invincible
so
like I've never been. It is.
It's so traumatic. That's so much emotion for me. I need to not.
I like it. It's just very like I could work out to this song, not gonna lie.
I could not.
It pump me up. Pumps me up. It's my favorite. It's my absolute favorite. It's probably the only one. It's actually the only one that I actually have liked in my like Spotify like it's in my Spotify likes.
Yeah.
That's all you got?
No.
All right. let's just move on to 9 then. I ranked 9 fairly low too. We actually ranked,
but mostly because it's too much of a call out.
I wouldn't say that it's a call out for me because
You're not a 9,
but
well, Ryan O'Neal is a 9, and he made this song to call out other 9s. But I just don't, and maybe this is the positive outlook, which if you want to know more about, go listen to our previous episodes on positive outlook. But just like I just dislike that that's my thing, I don't want that to be just my thing. Like, I listen to the 9 song and I'm like, oh yeah, I do that. But thanks. When I listen to that song, that I've been sleepwalking since I was 14, and I think explicitly about 14-year-old me who I grew my hair out, I stopped shopping in the boys section, I went and shopped in the women's section. This is, I'm a trans man, so it was all just like, there's a lot of shit going on in my life in high school specifically about hiding from my emotions and myself, and checking out to cope with things, right? But the reality of being faced with that in a song, but then that being like, there's a tipping point, and then there's like one verse and it ends. So like the majority of the song is you being fucking, feeling guilty about yourself, and I hate it. I have strong emotions. I feel called out.
It would have been better if there was more in growth 9.
Well, yeah. And primarily I think I struggle personally with the idea of identity narratives being based on pain. Because of my own stuff, like being like, that was a big part of my whole, like, I don't want to be trans, is like there were no positive examples of what being that and being happy looked like. The examples I had was, queer people being harassed, or, like trans people being murdered, or being unhappy and depressed and suicidal, or hating themselves and hating their bodies. And I was always so very conscious of being explicitly thankful and loving of myself and my body, because I knew that the world was not going to be. And so, it is one of those positive outlook type things, right? But the having that being your coping mechanism, and then the sort of narrative of that actually being one of pain is a difficult pill to swallow,
Yeah. Oof.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I'm sorry.
Oof. Oofta. Yikes.
Yeah, yikes.
Yikes. So anyways, it actually is it's a stellar recommendation for the song, because it makes me have such a emotional or a visceral reaction. But I want the afterwards of being happy. Give that to me, Ryan O'Neal. Give me happiness.
You know more about his other works. Like, he apparently has the songs like for the intelligence centers, right?
Yes, he does.
I haven't listened to those because I
I like all of them. I don't know if I like all of them. We can go listen to them now if you want. I feel like I have to listen to Heart in Moderation just because it's so emo. I do think that my favorite though is Mind, and I do think that we should listen to Mind.
Okay, let's do it.
And you should go listen to Mind because it's a good one.
Okay. I don't like it as much.
You don't like it?
Not really. I don't like it very much.
That's my favorite one.
Yeah.
Oh. Maybe you'll like the Body one.
Maybe it'll get.
Maybe it'll make you integrate. You know, that's.
I don't know. I honestly think it's mainly just because, like, stylistically, it doesn't grab me. Because it's the new age.
I like the style of it, personally.
Yeah, I think for me, music really has to grab me. Style, like, I have to like the sound of it.
Yeah.
And it's too slow. And
the other ones aren't faster at all.
Yeah.
That is the most boppin' of them.
If it's a slow song that sounds disingenuine, I can't get into it. And I feel like he has no connection to what he's singing. It didn't sound like he was speaking from his own experience, you know what I mean? And so I was like, I don't feel, it's my 4. It's the 4 wing. I'm like, this is disingenuine. I don't need it.
What he should do is play lots of D&D and have all of his D&D characters be a different type.
I think, honestly, what might make this better is if he found other artists
that are types
who were those types.
Collabed?
Yeah, and collabed with people. I think that would make it better because you would get, you could have someone who would go over the lyrics and be like, I don't feel this in my style. And there are a lot of Enneagram artists who would probably do this. I listened to I forget, but there's a podcast and she interviews a bunch of people, and a fair amount of them have been musicians. Who know about the Enneagram, practice it, and could help. And I think also having at least a duet with someone who's that type would make it better, because it didn't feel like he was singing from his heart. And sorry, that's the like theater major in me, and like taking classes like acting the song. You can take a song that is bad, but when you're singing it from the heart, it makes it good. It's why there have been a bunch of singers who aren't very good at actually singing, but still get their music still takes off, and it's because you can feel it. And I didn't feel it.
I go back to my D&D theory that he should just like start acting in character, create characters that are the Enneagram archetypes, and then go be those people.
I think that would help him, but I think collaboration would be better.
Probably, yeah. I mean, it's all done now, so there's nothing you can do about it. But
for future stuff, if you're ever going to do Enneagram stuff, this is our humble recommendation. I feel bad. Like, I don't want to critique too harshly because he's putting himself out there, and they are good songs. Don't get me wrong. It's just when I critique these, it is from a very theater school perspective, where I like what he's doing. I don't even just like it. I love what he's doing. It's just some pointers to maybe make it better, because everything can be made better.
I would love to see, because my personal opinion is that Hosier is a 4.
Who is?
And we agreed, Hosier.
Oh, yeah.
We agreed that the 4 was one of the like bottom songs for us. I wonder what a collab with Hozier on the 4 song would have looked like.
Oh, it'd been a banger.
A banger.
It would have been so good.
Such a bop.
But yeah. There's a 5 that's also a musician that I know of. I forget what her name is, but I have listened to her episode on that one podcast a bunch of times. This is not helpful for Ryan O'Neal, who's not listening to our podcast.
No, but you know.
Hold on, let me find the podcast real quick. It's the Enneagram Journey with Susan Stabile.
Just go listen to that podcast and you'll find out.
If you listen to the type, it's the Enneagram Journey with Susan Stabile. If you listen to her episode on 5s, one of them is one of the type 5 she interviews is a musician. So,
well,
ready to wrap up?
I'm ready to wrap if you are. Yep. Yeah. So we'll see you all live, semi-live, in the same month in September. After Maddy's journey.
Yep.
Let us know what you think it is.
Yep. So we have 2 questions of the month for you guys. One is to guess what I've been doing, and it'll be revealed in our next episode. And then the other one is our next episode is going to be about we're starting the Harnevian Triad, and we're going to start with the compliant group. And so that's 1s, 2s, and 6s. And our question is suffering a necessary part of the human condition? What would people who never suffered be like?
Let us know. Send us an email, EnneathingGoes@gmail.com. Tweet at us at EnneathingGoes. Leave us a review on our I don't know, wherever you're listening.
And I want to read them because I'm gonna have a lot of downtime to read stuff. That's your final clue.
Yep.
Bye.
So, bye.